Welcome to Mana's Seal YouTube channel. The previous video link is on the description box or on the top right card. Volume 12. The Paladin of the Holy Kingdom. The news of the Demihuman Alliance, one that comprised a massive army crushing the strongest central fortress and its vast quantities of soldiers, then subsequently crossing the wall, had already begun spreading throughout the Holy Kingdom. The leader of the Demihuman Alliance was called the Demon Emperor Jaldabaoth. He was a demon who had caused great havoc in the kingdom, and he had used powerful magic to shred the wall like tissue paper. The Demihuman Alliance was made up of 18 species, and their numbers were estimated in excess of 100,000. This army of Demihumans was now focused on destroying the walls and fortifications, and their advance had ground to a halt. After learning this, the leader of the Holy Kingdom, the Holy Queen, issued a general mobilization order to the entire nation. Since the Holy Kingdom's territory was stretched around the northern and southern edges of the Central Bay, any mobilized forces would naturally be formed into two armies, the Northern Holy Kingdom Army and the Southern Holy Kingdom Army. The armies each moved towards their own important locations, the city of Calcasama in the north and the city of Demihuman in the south, where they spied on the enemy's movements for several days. The reports they received from the troops observing the wall made the situation even more pressing. The Demihuman Alliance, in all its strength, was moving west. They would reach the northern fortress city of Calcasama in a few days. Really now? So this place is going to become a battlefield after all. The speaker was the Holy Queen, Calcasama. Due to her low place in the order of succession, only males had inherited the Holy Kingdom until now. She should never have taken the position of Holy Queen. However, due to two qualities she had, the crown had eventually been placed upon her brow. The first was her beautiful looks. Her face was as beautiful as a freshly bloomed flower, filled with cuteness and dignity, and it was praised as the treasure of Roble, while her radiant, vibrant long hair was like threads of spun gold. Since it resembled an angel's halo, many who saw her gentle smile went on to describe her as a saint. The other quality was her excellence as a divine magic caster. She was a genius who could use 4th tier spells at the tender age of 15, and she had ascended to the throne with the firm backing of the previous Holy King and the temples. Almost 10 years had passed since then. While certain voices disapproved of her excessive kindness, she had not made any mistakes which could be considered critical, and thus she had ruled the Holy Kingdom to this day. However, this rule was not solid, and embers smoldered out of sight. I understand your sadness, Calcasama, but the people who live in Calcasama should do so because they have prepared themselves for a day like this. In the past, there was also that battle, where this city was the heart of the fighting. That's why the walls here are even taller and sturdier than anywhere else. The person trying to console her was a woman with brown hair. While she was as beautiful as the Holy Queen, her eyes contained a cold razor-sharp look, like the edge of a blade. She was dressed in a suit of silvery full-plate armor and a surcoat. These were the traditional vestments of the Paladin Order's captain, an ancient article of magical masterwork. The most important thing was the sword at her waist, whose name was known to everyone in the Holy Kingdom. It was renowned as one of the 4 holy swords, the Holy Sword Saphorija. One of the 13 heroes, known as Black Knight, was said to have carried 4 swords: the Evil Blade, Hyumulus, the Demonic Blade Kilinarum, the Blade of Rot Croctable, and the Fatal Blade Sphes. This was one of the 4 swords which existed as a counterpart to them. Incidentally, the other 3 holy swords were known as the Sword of Law, the Sword of Justice, and the Sword of Life. Wielding a powerful sword often led to one becoming drunk on its power and neglecting the fundamentals of swordsmanship. Therefore, the fact that she carried that sword which she would normally never carry was a sign of her unshakable determination to join the upcoming battle and to win it. Her name was Remedios Custodio. She was a close friend of Calca, and as the strongest captain of the order in history, a fee founded upon her fighting prowess. She was white of the 9 colors. Yup. And we've also sent all the non-combatants off to take shelter so there won't be casualties among them. Rather, don't you think the more pressing problem after the war will be the expenses incurred during the fighting? While the shape of her eyes and mouth varied slightly, her face still bore a close resemblance to that of Remedios. However, those faint differences were enough to change the impression others had of her. She always looked like she was plotting something, or in less polite terms, that she was surrounded by a sinister air. She was Remedios' sister, younger than her by 2 years, Querol Custodio. She was the high priestess of the temples, and leader of the priesthood. It was public knowledge that she could use divine magic of the 4th tier. However, that was but a deception. Those close to her knew that she could cast 5th tier spells. Incidentally, she was not one of the 9 colors. While the temples were under the Holy Queen, it was government policy not to bestow a color title on one of their number, in order to avoid problems with the balance of power. These sisters were known as the Genius Custodios sisters, the twin wings of the Holy Queen. Until now, many nobles had their doubts about Calca's ascension to the throne as a female, and they wondered if she had done something with her to the sisters. Therefore, they often spoke ill of all three of them at the same time. While many rumors about them had been cleared up, one particular piece of gossip remained. All three of them were unmarried, without so much as a male lover, and so it was said that their relationship was anything but ordinary. However much Calca denied it, she could not shake herself free of that rumor, and it was a major source of frustration for her. Just hearing that gives me a headache. It's pretty bad that we won't stand to gain anything even if we win. Still, they say that the Demihumans this time round are outfitted pretty well. Why not sell their gear? That's right, you know I can't approve of that, Nisama. Let's say we wanted to sell their armor, where would we sell it? You haven't thought about that, have you? We can only sell them overseas, but Demihuman armor isn't going to command anything but bargain basement prices. Besides, we ought to avoid strengthening other countries' arsenals until the destroyed wall is rebuilt. In particular, I hope they don't fall into the hands of the Sorcerer's Kingdom. Huh. You don't like the Sorcerer's Kingdom? I've never heard you say that in court though. No priest would like them. You're the same way too, right, Calcasama? Calca pondered the matter. As part of the clergy and the Holy Queen, she disliked them. However, as a head of state, the king's duty is to love his nation, love his people, and grant them peace. As long as he does that, it should be fine, right? The sisters looked at each other in front of Calca. Love? No way. Could an undead being ever think like that? I agree with Nisama. The undead, I don't think they could love like you do, Calcasama. The two of you are harsh. Still, you can't just badmouth people without even seeing them, right? The puzzled looks on their faces looked very similar. Calca mused that they were siblings after all, and after quelling the smile on her face, her voice turned serious. What did your adjutant say? Quirrell, tell me our plan for dealing with Jaldabaoth. The Holy Queen did not take part in strategy meetings. Instead, she went around the soldiers to boost their morale. While the Holy Kingdom's troops were better trained than those of other nations, they were ultimately conscripts. It was important to motivate them. Yes. We're already discussing how to deal with situations where the Demihumans encircle this city, bypass it, advance to the south, split up to accomplish different objectives, and so on. It was times like these that reaffirmed her belief that the sisters were similar, but not alike. If she had asked the elder sister that question, the answer she would get would make her want to grab her head in frustration. I see. Then, which possibility do you think is the most likely? Given the invasion path of the Demihumans so far, it's most likely that they will choose to encircle this city. However, there is a problem with that. Yes. What do you mean? Remedios had not participated in the meetings either, given that she was Calca's bodyguard. However, the fact that she had not grasped the answer which the Holy Queen had instantly realized was due to another problem. Nisama. I'm talking about the demon who wrought havoc in the kingdom, Jaldabaoth. Well, there's no telling how smart he is. Demons are skilled at schemes and trickery. He might adopt a plan we did not foresee. I see. The adjutants who have to handle strategy and planning sure have it tough. While there was much she wanted to say to the leader of the Paladin Order, Calca resisted the urge to do so. This is quite vexing. Then, if the Demihumans encircle this city, what will happen after that? Well, food, supplies are ample. Fighting a defensive siege is going to wreak horrors on morale. Have you considered that, as well? Yes. Normally, all we would have to do is wait for reinforcements from the south to arrive, but we have reports saying that Jaldabaoth used a mysterious power to destroy the wall in a single blow. As long as that tremendous factor of uncertainty in play. The three of them frowned as one. Anyone would be upset when they thought of what had happened to the wall, but Calca knew what was going on. Remedios was simply imitating what the other two had done. Remedios did not like to think, and she was a very stubborn person. That was a flaw, but it was also the reason that she could embody absolute justice. The nature of justice was difficult to contemplate. For instance, imagine if there were two children, one human and one Demihuman. Being pure and innocent, they became friends. However, if the Demihuman child was discovered by adults, he would be locked up, and the human child would plead for his life. However, if they let the Demihuman child go, he might grow up to become a threat to humanity. Was killing the Demihuman child just or unjust? This was not a question that could be easily answered. Calca would have spared him without any hesitation. Remedios, however, would kill him without any doubts. In addition, she would insist that she was righteous, and not feel a shred of guilt about it. In her heart, anything she did for the sake of the nation and people was acceptable. When she took the throne of the Holy Queen, Calca had declared to her two close friends, I will grant happiness to the small folk, and make a country where nobody will cry. In response, she had said, I will support you and uphold your just cause. With that pledge in her heart, she was more forthright than anyone else, her heart filled with conviction, and the light in her eyes was like that of a fanatic. Someone like that was clearly dangerous, yet Calca did not distance herself from her friend. The righteous impulses of loving others, loving peace, hating evil, and the desire to aid the weak were all things she ought to welcome. And it was because of that nature of hers that what she thought and what she did were the same. Because she did not think about her words, everything she said came from her heart. Any organization, particularly those that had stood for a long time, would become sluggish due to worries and cares. In addition, their original purity of purpose would tarnish and grow dim. Since power rested in the hand of one person, it was only natural that power struggles would take place. Even if a victor was decided, the battle against suspicion, jealousy, and fear would continue, until one side eventually perished. Calca had been freed from this curse halfway though. That was because she had attained magical power that ranked highly even when compared to the past generations of holy kings. Others had lauded her for it, and her heart was at ease. Therefore, Calca could put aside her mental preparations to take the throne of the Holy Queen, but her brothers did not feel the same way.